Everyone, I hope y'all are doing well this evening. I wanted to jump on here and make a video for y'all. It's Thursday evening, just trying to maximize my time. And what I wanted to talk about specifically was the border. I know that right now Doge is kind of dominating a lot of the media sources. And so the border and immigration really kind of has taken a backseat to that. Um, what we do here is, Tom Homan talking about the raids and trying to find out, if people are leaking intel to, these communities ahead of, certain raids and whatnot. And, definitely interesting. I definitely want to keep paying attention to that, and I encourage everyone to stay up to date on that. Specifically, though, what I wanted to talk about are like four little points. Um, First off, Operation Lone Star here in Texas. Quick update at the Texas-Mexico border, and then going into a couple of questions regarding whether former special operators are now working for or with the cartel, and then the rumored use of American Special Forces to, go in and eliminate these cartels. So I hope this piques your interest. Stick around. Let's get into it. So let's talk about Operation Lone Star. It was launched back in March of 2021. It was basically a response from Abbott to the Biden administration saying that y'all haven't done your job. Y'all are failing to police the border and to enforce immigration laws. So Texas is going to step up and basically do your job for you. And he declared a disaster at the border. He was able to mobilize thousands of state troopers and National Guardsmen to the border. And all this was headed by the Texas Department of Public Safety as well as the Texas Military Department. Now, this raised a big question about whether states could actually enforce immigration laws. And, for a while you saw on the news, Biden versus Abbott, and yeah, they went back and forth, even in the courts about it. Biden said to tear down some of the razor wire. Abbott continued to rebuild it. All in all, finally, thankfully, Trump came in. He was elected and now is in control. And um, Abbott has received a lot of resources, a lot of praise from Trump, saying that he's doing a great job. And we down here in Texas are definitely proud of the work that he's done and continues to do. Since then, the Texas National Guard has been deputized to make immigration arrests. They have deployed Texas Tactical Border Force to work with the U.S. Border Patrol, and they deployed the Texas Department of Public Safety Tactical Strike Teams to help locate and arrest criminal illegal migrants. And all this information is available on gov.texas.gov/Operation Lone Star. I'll put the link up right here, just in case you want to keep up with it and find other details, find other partners that are working with Operation Lone Star. It's a great program. They're doing a lot of good work, and we're, like I said, we're pretty proud of all the work that they are putting in down here in Texas. And now talking about actual like border crossings, border numbers. According to a recent CBS report, apparently crossings are down 85% this past January compared to last year. Down nearly 90% in the El Paso region, and it could be even higher in other regions along the border. Caroline Levitt, also in a recent press briefing, said that we hit a 15-year low in border crossings, and she also mentioned that there has been numerous accounts of migrants pretty much abandoning their journey towards the U.S. and going back to where they came from. And a lot of the border patrol agents are crediting the new administration policies for this deterring, which I find to be a very important detail. For those of us who, work for large companies or have worked for large companies in the past, one thing is being able to, have the tools and the knowledge to do your jobs effectively, right? But also, there's a big morale boost. There's a lot of confidence that spreads when you know that your leadership is also competent and is also doing their jobs, that they have your back. It's a complete different feeling. I'm sure these border agents are feeling right now compared to the previous 4 years where they didn't have a leader. Basically they didn't have anyone telling them to go and do the very job that they signed up to do. So I think that's a very important detail and something not to forget to acknowledge. um, if y'all haven't looked up or haven't seen a YouTube channel by the name of Ironclad, I highly recommend it. Specifically, Ironclad Borderland Narcosis with Vincent Vargas. Vincent himself is a former Army Ranger as well as a former Border Patrol agent. And he's got some really good guests. A lot of really good information comes across uh, his channel, his videos. Recently, he had a guest by the name of Ed Calderon. Um, again, because he's been on the show multiple times. Uh, Ed himself is a former Mexican police officer with over 10 years of working in counter narcotics, organized crime investigations, public safety in the northern region of Mexico. And, he asked him about the recent announcements that have come from the U.S. He asked him about the tariffs that were going back and forth, and the deal that was made between Trump and Scheinbaum, the Mexican president, and he said that the cartels being designated terror organizations probably threatens the Mexican government more than the actual cartels, and that kind of jokingly puts it in perspective for a lot of us. We already know that the Mexican government is corrupt. We don't know exactly how far it goes, but for him to say something like this kind of, solidifies a lot of our doubts. Um, he said that the 10,000 troops that were a part of the deal that Trump made, or that felt like he made, um, those 10,000 troops were pretty much already at the border, whether they were doing their job or taking their job seriously or not. It's hard to tell, but he said that for the most part people really don't take them seriously. you know these people, the drugs, they're still getting moved across. Basically, even though the numbers are down, the cartels are adapting. They're finding new methods, new tactics in order to achieve the same goals. But he does agree that cutting, the funds, hitting them in their wallets basically is the best way to make an impact. And in one of my previous videos, we mentioned NGOs, all that money kind of being frozen, and the U.S. government being a little more proactive in vetting certain NGOs because of the fact that so many of them have been found to be corrupt and were giving money to not only terrorist organizations worldwide, but also specifically um, these cartels or people affiliated with the cartels that were moving people and drugs into the U.S. So now let's talk about the rumors about former U.S. special operators that are now working with the cartel. When I first heard that, my eyebrows raised. I was like, I want to know more. And this information, again, is gathered by, I'm sorry, from Ironclad video with Vincent Vargas and his guest, Pierre Rousini. Mr. Rousini is a former drug trafficker. He has served 26 years in prison for it and basically appeared on the show pretty much to provide context and to speak from firsthand exposure to the cartel and their systems. He is the one that made the claim, stating that the paramilitary wing of the Jalisco New Generation Cartel is headed by 4 former Special Forces operators, 1 former Green Beret and Delta operator, 2 former Navy SEALs, and 1 former Army Ranger from 75th Ranger Regiment. Now, Is it true? We don't have anything to confirm these allegations. And I like what Valhalla VFT is another YouTube channel. This YouTube channel specifically is headed by a former Green Beret, and he did his best to kind of vet the claim. He called around, uh, people he knew in the special forces community. No one had heard, anything like this, but he did, honestly say that there are multiple examples of guys that, start to kind of get roped in or get involved with this type of shit, you know, being that they operate in other countries and all the exposure that they have, sometimes, like I said, they get roped into it. Not that they don't have a say or anything, but, you know, it's not entirely out of the realm of possibility that this could actually be true. Now, in saying that, we can just assume that they bring a certain level of sophistication to any structure. You know, without a doubt, they would have inspired the cartels to step their game up, and to basically become that much more effective in what they're doing, and therefore that much more dangerous. So if this is true, they will be providing high level of training, in tactics, trade or field craft, unconventional warfare, counterintelligence. And then, if all this is true, all this means that things can get pretty sketchy pretty quick. I mean, the high level training, we already know that the cartels have obtained massive amounts of weaponry and gear. And three, we know that they have spies embedded in the Mexican government that could potentially tip them off to any type of attack that is going their way. If we send any type of presence in there, they could just be walking right into an ambush. So it makes it very, very dangerous. It makes it a whole different type of ball game. And so I say all this because there's been a lot of people talking about, why don't we just send, tier one units to eliminate the cartels? And I would love to say that they would just go in and just mow them all down and that the cartels wouldn't stand a chance. Several servicemen have expressed those kinds of thoughts, including, conventional and special forces guys saying that, you know, we like, as in the US, basically decimate the cartels. And there's one for sure interview that Joe Rogan had with a former Green Beret and Delta operator by the name of John McPhee, who basically says, the cartels have numerous advantages, including, the numbers, they have the weaponry, they have had the time to prepare for this type of event, and they have a compromised government. So it's not just as cut and dry, I feel like it, as we would want it to be. Don't get it twisted. I undoubtedly the US would come out on top. I just don't think it would be as simple as some people are trying to make it. Like, oh, US is going, they're going to manhandle them, no contest. I don't think it'd be that cut and dry. Um, do we want to make the Mexican border and even certain areas in Mexico war zones? And some people would argue that they already are, because of the fights between, warring cartels and their blatant disregard for civilian lives, and collateral damage. A lot of the neighborhoods, a lot of the areas are pretty much looking like war zones. But we're talking about full on, urban warfare. I think, maybe GWAT vets are getting itchy just talking about it, but they're the ones that would know, right? If we send in, say, a tier one asset, tier one unit, and it gets pinned down, well, I mean, they're going to call for QRF, and Trump, I don't see Trump saying no, but I mean, that gives a heavier presence, a larger fight. Where does it end? Are we going to start leveraging, our air assets? Are we going to call like airstrikes in Mexico? Again, where does it end? And I just don't think we want a war zone basically at our southern border. I don't know, all the information obviously that um, would be going into those type of decisions. I'm just thinking out loud, but I think it would get pretty messy pretty quick, and I believe that there's going to be a lot of discussion of whether to do it or not, and then especially the cost of it. Both monetarily, but also the lives of soldiers, lives of the civilians that would be potentially at risk for all of that kind of activity. Let me know what y'all think. I thought this information was really, really interesting. I'm going to continue to keep up with Borderland, and just for my own knowledge. And I encourage that all of who stop by and listen, check out Borderland Narcosis with Vincent Vargas. You're gonna be very glad that you did. I hope that y'all have a good rest of the evening. Stay tuned for our next video. I'll catch you in the next one. Thanks.